Y254. Imagine.
We are back. Thank you for staying with us. If you're just joining, you are on time for the first conversation of the day. And as I said earlier today, we're talking about selective, the impact of selective dissemination of information on the society. And for this particular topic, we have been joined by someone who's been here before many times, an expert in this area. He goes by the name Duncan Maigwa. He's a strategic communication officer at Creco, Kenya. Duncan, karibu tena.
Thank you so much, Steph.
Glad to have you again.
Glad to be here.
Good, a good time to say Happy New Year.
I don't know. Today it's 4th of February, and I don't know whether it's too. We might maybe be making people a bit tired with the Happy New Year statements. You know?
Oh, it's fine. Because others are tunasema Happy New Year until sometime in April.
But to be honest, you see, because I've not been here, and our audiences and our viewers have not seen me this year. Happy New Year, our viewers.
Great.
Yes.
Okay, for someone who's seeing it for the first time, maybe you can give us a background on what you do at Creco, Kenya.
All right, let me first introduce myself. My name is Duncan Maigwa. I work with Creco, Kenya. Creco is Constitution and Reform Education Consortium. And we are a governance-focused civil society organization. Now we are calling ourselves PBO, Public Benefits Organization, after the operationalization of the PBO Act of 2011. And we really work on issues around governance. And at this point in time, we are talking, Steph, about e-governance. And that's why we've been really exploring issues on information disorders, how that impacts society, how that affects decision-making, how that affects perspectives among the society on issues around governance. And currently, as an organization, we are spearheading or working on a project we are calling Vijana Tuchanuke. It's a project that addresses issues of mis and disinformation, fake news, and also, again, engaging the youth and telling them that, hey, you can be ambassadors of what we call digital hygiene on the digital spaces. This we are working together, hand in hand with the Embassy of Finland, and we really appreciate all other partners that we have. Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So hapa tunachanua vijana, and this is the right place because our audience is a very youthful audience. So when you say e-governance, we're now in e-governance. What do you mean by that? Is it that the e-platforms have more voice than the traditional system?
The offline ones. Not really, but anyway, what we can say is that this is where we are heading, even as globally. We cannot ignore the impact of the digital spaces on governance processes. Initially, we used to have, I think even some of the clauses in the Constitution, they really, most of them, I think, really envisioned, when we talk about even participation, citizen participation in governance processes, it may be envisioned much on, even when we are petitioning institutions and the like, whether we are talking about the freedom of expression and the different freedoms in the Constitution, most of them, I think they were to be exercised offline. Most of that was supposed to be offline. We go to a specific ministry and we just go petition that government institution and tell them, hey, we are looking forward to, we are holding you accountable on this and this and this and this. But now this is happening online. We are seeing, actually even the recent one is when we found even the president addressing the youth on X. It's never been seen globally. But anyway, we used to see the former president, the fourth president of the Republic of Kenya, engaging citizens on Facebook. I think for him it was much on Facebook.
Yeah.
I mean, it's evolving. It's a whole evolving sector when we talk about governance.
Yeah.
And that and I would say for now we are actually past the 50% mark in terms of engagements. Nowadays engagements over 50% are happening online
On
rather
the
than
digital
offline.
platforms.
Yes.
Yeah, because when you speak about not just in Kenya, even the United States president usually tweets about what he has done.
Yes, yes.
And it speaks a lot of the times we were in. So before we even get to the conversation that we have, should that be an indicator to the political class or the leaders of where the people actually are and where they need to engage with people mostly?
Yeah, of course. That is an indication that they need to style up and really get into where people are.
Yeah.
Because most people, even nowadays, they go to mass rallies just to see their politicians, to see them. Anyway, I've been seeing them on screen, but I've never seen, I mean, it's him, so it's her, okay? But they just go to see them. But the real mobilization is happening online. And especially considering that not only even in Kenya, generally in Africa, the biggest population is the youth. And the youth are online, and this is where we have the biggest share of the votes. So if you want to mobilize them until that time when now they're going to physically go and cast their ballot, then you need to find them wherever they are, and they are online. And then very many young people don't want to waste a lot of time going to rallies. That's why if you go to those rallies, I think over 80% are people who are not within the youth.
Boomers.
Yes, they're the boomers, the baby boomers.
The boomers are the ones
Not the youth. The youth just want to engage us virtually. I mean, can we do this thing virtually? That's what they want.
Yeah, I think for the longest time, because when the politicians go and they usually want to give a shot, you know, they're very critical of the camera shots that will be taken, so that it shows they had many people coming to their rally, and that would form an agenda that he has people, you know, backing him up. But now in the digital platform, how would they know for sure that I have people following me in the like how would you know, quantify it or really be sure that I have a good following and I should be confident that I'm going to get.
Good thing is that when you are sure of the youth vote, I mean, you can just go smiling and dancing your way to to the ballot, because the youth vote, as we talk, even as we speak, even in this country, the youth vote is so critical, especially nowadays. And we now also have a time whereby the youth are also influencing politics in their families. Yes, especially even with the recent happenings, the youth are slowly changing the perspective and the direction into which even politics are taking their space. Because, for instance, we even found the youth saying, oh, we are tribeless, we are leaderless, I mean, these are conversations that we couldn't have before. And you realize slowly there is a conversation even in the country on, hey, don't stop mentioning and saying that, oh, it's about this region, it's about this region, it's about the Western vote, the Central vote, the what vote, the what vote. The youth have really removed these barriers that separated different regions and tribes. So they are really influencing the politics and how people are doing politics even in this country. So it's very important step to realize and recognize that the youth vote is such a critical vote now. But now I have seen even nowadays people are now even talking about and even sharing screenshots of people who are watching a specific event live. And we have two politicians here, one maybe liked or disliked, and the other one liked or disliked. And then people, if the events are happening at the same time, they'll come and put both screenshots, and they'll show you who tuned into this event live, how many people, and how many people tuned to this event live. And they will compare and tell you, hey, you need to up your game.
Do something about it. And it has happened. It has happened, you know, before, you know, people comparing the different politicians, how many people tuned in to listen to them versus. So that's how now the rallies have, you know, shifted from the ground to the digital spaces. Now, when it comes to selective dissemination of information, I want to ask you what that really means Is it people withholding information? And is it necessary to really give out information? Is it wrong to withhold information as long as I've told you the president has said this and that, and leave it at that, because factually he said this and that, without giving the whole story. Is that really wrong? And is that what we're discussing today when we talk about selective dissemination of information?
When you look at even some of the legislations that we have in this country, when you talk about the Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Act, we'll find, of course, there are specific clauses that address the issue on releasing. Okay, of course, there is what we call classified information that shouldn't be out there, because classified information is a matter of national security. But here we are talking about information that should be out there. So selective information, dissemination of information, it's not entirely bad, because I think it all lies on the intention of this selective dissemination. Because when you withhold critical information from the public, nowadays we are talking about ATI is access to information, ATI, access to information. So, but when you talk about access to information, if people are not able to access information, that the information they are looking into, and information critical for their day-to-day way of doing things, and even for them to be able to live from and to make decisions from an informed point of view, then we need not to withhold information. We need to ensure that information that is going out there is complete. And I remember when I was in school, we were being taught, I don't know whether it's the 3 C's, it should be clear, concise, and complete. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So what impact then does it have on the society if we do not get the full information, the complete information?
Of course, what we have, and especially even nowadays, when we look even at the general public, and especially, I'm not here to really fault government as much, but let's be honest with ourselves that we've really suffered also as a country. And the reason why you can see a lot of confusion in this country, it's because of sometimes the gaps that we identify when it comes to policy communication. Because when we have policy communication that is not being done so accurately, and especially by ensuring that we have proper dissemination of information, and that information is disseminated fully, completely, then we have people being ditched into some kind of confusion. We are talking about, for instance, when you talk about maybe a scheme like the SHA, when you talk about SHA, people are being told, oh, register, it's a good thing. There is coverage for critical illnesses and chronic illnesses and the like. But have you had communication addressing the real packages in that whole scheme? Yeah, we don't. We're not getting it. Nobody is telling people that you're getting 1,000 or 2,000 for the whole household for dental a whole year. Nobody is telling you that. We don't have full information, and therefore you go just register, and then later on maybe you go to the hospital, and maybe perhaps you're not able to get the cover that you really want to get the from the entire scheme. So government policies have to be communicated completely, because people are confused. Talk about CBC, very many things. We need to have that communicated. But again, Steph, I would also want to engage in a conversation on our day-to-day lives and what we do, and how we communicate ourselves. Yes.
Okay, maybe the government could argue, in the case, let's say, of the health insurance, SHA and SHIF, that the information is there, that it's up to you as a citizen to go and understand it, because they have been faulted for not giving the information. But as a human being, you'd want to give the juicy part of the information. So it covers critical care patients, cancer patients get full cover. Now it's faster than NHIF. So those are good things, you know. You get it, but for someone who's not a critical care patient, then you do not have as much advantage to it, yet you're being deducted, you know. Even the deductions themselves, depending on the level, the kind of salary you get, it was not communicated quite well. In the beginning, it was mostly the benefits first, you know. But they would argue that you need to get the information yourself. They're just promoting it. Is it not okay if that's the approach they're using?
Not really, because you see, we have sources of information. We are at Y254. We are a source of information that we are informing the public. And so when you realize that you are an information source, then you need to know that you are accountable to the very people that you serve, right? And government is always supposed to understand that government is a source of information. Yes, indeed. Of course, it's our duty also to, again, we need to avail ourselves to, and really also seek this kind of information. But again, how accessible is it? Because, for instance, how accessible is it? And again, we are not talking about the very detail of the technicalities of how the funds are being approved. You know, we're not talking about those technicalities. We are simply talking of Duncan is unwell, and God forbid, Duncan is unwell. If you are unwell and this is the illness that you have, up to what extent is the government catering for you? Is this cover catering for you? We have seen, by the way, Stephen, for information, we have seen other schemes, even in the past, that operate just the same as insurance, where we have a pool of risks, whereby we create a pool, everyone contributes, but a few benefit from it. But again, there is what we need to talk about, the guarantee that indeed you're going to be assisted and you're going to get assistance from this pool. And again, up to what level of assistance can you get from this pool? I think government has to make that information accessible. So that again, it becomes now the responsibility of the one who seeks the information to get that.
Even for someone who can't access the digital information, so that if they watch TV, they will know that this is the full story. This is all that I need to know. And
Steph, you know what? There is a reason why the Commission for Administrative Justice was established. It's the Office of the Ombudsman. The Office of the Ombudsman has a responsibility to even compel government institutions to release information. Yes, it recently compelled the county government of Nairobi to release information to a lady who had sought for information about the naming of a specific road.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
That's why we have that, because we need information.
We need information. It is, you know, it should be at our disposal when you need it at any point in time. And well, still on the government and the people, the president has been under a lot of criticism over not performing up to the expectation of the public. But he says that those that are criticizing him are also not speaking of the things that he has accomplished. And time and time again, even with the deputy president, they've said they've done so much more than the previous presidents have done. Recently, they've compared with our late former president, Kibaki, you know. So basically, to say that people are not saying of the things that he has done. So does that also fall under selective dissemination of information from the public?
Of course, and entirely, you cannot bury a government entirely and say that they've done nothing. Anyway, of course, there has been a government. There hasn't been, if we didn't have a government, of course, people, anyone would take over and do stuff the way they want. But to be honest, Steph, I have seen in the past, even the current government, talking about that the reason why perhaps it's getting the kind of revolt that it's getting from the public, it's because the communication teams are not doing a good job. But let me state very categorically that we cannot talk about communication without talking about the content of the communication.
So for communication to happen, there has to be
content. There has to be content. And when we talk about this content, it has to be factual content. It doesn't have to be propaganda. I know we've been taught even of positive propaganda, but it doesn't have to be propaganda. It has to be real and concrete information that people themselves can even prove. one of the reasons why even a government like the Kibaki government didn't even, I'm pretty sure, didn't even have a robust kind of communication that we have nowadays. Nowadays we have bloggers, government bloggers all over
yeah.
on social media. It's not, during Kibaki time, I don't think we really had such kind of
communication.
Yes, such kind of communication. But the ground could speak for itself. We could see results. When he talks about the first 100 days, and I think it was, is it under PNU? PNU is what it was under NAC. I think it was PNU.
Okay, PNU, yeah, PNU.
PNU, right? When he was talking about the first 100 days that education was going to be free, it was indeed free.
And
it was indeed
proven,
free.
so
It was proven. When we are
content.
talking about the university funding model being good, and the government saying that it has even delivered many institutions from debt, universities. Okay, but how are we feeling? Why do we still have people having to pay 80,000, 120,000, and being unable to go to universities, and some of them even having to defer, because even as an organization we've been working on issues around education.
Okay.
So it's a fact. However much you communicate, however much you select information to disseminate there, the question is, the content of that communication.
Is it factual?
Is it factual? Is it also selective? Because I also think it's selective. Yes.
So you just passing out information that would favor you.
Yes,
you know?
yes.
All right. Okay. Interesting. And now, what role does technology play in enhancing the selective dissemination of information?
All right. I think technology, basically what it does, Steph, is more on amplification. Because sometimes we have seen, not only even government, even institutions, sometimes even if I have my own company, I would also want to see that it's also trending online, and people seeing the kind of things that I'm also doing, and I will, of course, I'll just share the good things. I will not talk about the struggles I have with my employees. I will not talk about that.
Yeah.
But technology really amplifies. We have had people even mass register into phishing sites because simply it was so much amplified online.
Sure.
And a lot of data is stolen out there. So technology does so much when it comes to amplification, because we've actually been talking of technology and social media as echo chambers. They really amplify this message so strongly, and it gets to a bigger audience. And you know, when it comes to social media, information is decentralized, no gatekeeping, it just flows, freely.
Yeah.
Freely. Yes.
That's the danger of technology
Absolutely.
when it comes to this area.
Yes.
Because we've even seen, as you've said, fraud, fraudsters disseminating information and people getting to it, and people have been scammed. And even there was a time, I'm forgetting, when quails, I don't know if it falls under this, but people were told that quails could heal, I don't know, what is it about quails? It's a good business to venture into, and people got into it. And people failed
massively
at it. Yeah, so that is also selective. Maybe there was some truth in it, but it was selective. It was not the whole information.
Yeah.
Because now when people think about, and I was talking with my co-host, when we talk about even misinformation and disinformation, people think about a lot of around politics, but it's also in this other areas, right?
Yes.
So how does one know how to filter out that kind of a thing, to know that I need to get more information on this. This is not the whole story. How does one get to that?
All right, I think it depends. It depends with where the information is coming from. Because if it's coming from print media, there are indicators and red flags. Let me use red flags because I think that's quite
okay.
People can relate to red flags. Oh, I'm sorry. So
it's fine.
There are red flags when it comes to print media. There are those that when it comes to social media, and generally you're able to identify them differently. When it comes maybe to print media, for instance, when it's print, sometimes it's the shouting headlines, you know, shouting colors. We even find them on billboards, you know.
Okay, so you're talking mostly on newspapers.
Yes, when you see that and very shouting headlines, headlines that are too good to be true or are too shockingly to be true, sometimes you need to like worry.
Okay.
Yes, worry and really find the actual details about that kind of information.
Right.
And someone said that when you see headlines that are really shouting, it's always good sometimes to even relax and tell them, hey, don't yell at me. If I want to read your story,
I'll read it.
I am going to read your story. Don't shout at me. All right?
Okay.
And on social media, sometimes when it trends and it looks like it's only addressing a one-sided, one side. No, it's always good to be skeptical. By the way, we've been telling people, be skeptical with anything that you find online.
Okay.
Be very skeptical. So, because when you find that a specific piece of information elicits a lot of emotion, either it makes you so angry, makes you so excited, makes you so shocked, confused, you know, fast stop and be skeptical, look for more information about that issue. Also even think, how about if it was the other way? How about if it was, just be skeptical, just don't believe it first, then find the facts about that specific information. Yes.
Right. So when you talk about, because it's my area also in
Yes,
media, you
yes,
know, in the print media, how it's a strategy of selling news, because they would say, I don't know, let me just find a news headline, because we were just having that in the morning.
Yeah.
to give a good example. So something like inside, that's by Daily Nation, inside Ruto's policy U-turns. Is that a shocking one?
Of course, that's very attractive. But now you see, they are very trusted sources. And because we also have so many other sources, and you might not be sure who is talking the truth, it's always very good to verify.
But yeah, that's the thing. But is it wrong itself? Because like the Standard, it's written chiefs abducted. So that's a very catchy headline. But it's the truth. It's not really. I don't know if is that really selective, because they've given more information. You know, when you get to the newspaper, it's not like they've filtered out information. It's usually because as journalists, we're taught to be very unbiased, right? So it's the headline to get your attention, but when you get to the story, you get the unbiased story. Yes, you get the factual details. So is that really fair, putting that in the category of selective dissemination?
For that one, we cannot say it's selective dissemination. In fact, what we can be talking about from that headline is the intent. All right? One is the intent. Okay, the intent of that headline, to be honest, is simply to attract your attention and not to mislead.
Yes.
Because by itself, it does not show that there is a cause for alarm in a way that maybe we have all the chiefs in the country being abducted, all right?
Yeah.
So the intent of that is what needs to. We know there are these what do we call them? Tabloids. There's some of these tabloids that we have out there that will give very nasty headlines.
True.
That actually by themselves, the headlines by themselves, they are just fishy. You mean they are just alarming.
They have an agenda.
They have an agenda.
Yeah.
You know, when you create suspense using a headline, it's different when you put a headline that by itself already communicates an agenda. Yes, now that's the difference.
That's the difference.
That's the difference.
Okay, get it. Now, on social media, in the digital platforms, still on the same, but now on the digital platforms, you'd find something on 5 shocking ways. This will shock you, something. This, you know, number 5 will shock you, and then that gets someone's attention. So that does fall in the selective disinformation, and it's misleading, right?
It is actually, and recently you noticed there was a crackdown on X for what they were calling. There's this term they were calling farming. What? There's farming. There's farming something. Okay. Where people who are used to putting tweets or posts on X that are kind of simply to lure people so much into their accounts and to subscribe into and to follow them, their accounts were suspended.
Oh, okay.
Yes, there are very many of them whose accounts were suspended, and most of them would be like 10 most useless courses in the country, and then CG what at the details on the comments, you know, just
Yeah,
to, you know,
to
that
get
kind of
you.
farming. They were calling it farming something. Our viewers are going to forgive me for that. Farming something. And then there are some who will say, follow me, I follow back, follow. And those who are a bit notorious, their accounts were suspended.
Okay.
They are also cracking down on such kind of conduct where someone is using, they want organic growth, I guess, yeah.
Okay, I
Yeah.
think that's how it should be. It should be very organic
Yes,
and not,
yes, yes.
not misleading in as much as we
Yes.
really want to make money from, you know, the
Uh-huh.
content that we are creating on the
Yes,
digital spaces
yes.
and everything. Now, in the when we talk about technology, we've spoken a lot about the digital space. What about artificial intelligence? Is there a role that it plays in this as well?
Of
And
course.
even the algorithms and everything, yeah. Does it, is it still in the echo chambers? Does it still amplify, you know, what does it do?
I think for AI, it's when it comes to selective dissemination, I think it comes when AI is sometimes not able to get context, especially from an African perspective. We even find when we look for, if we want AI to generate, especially when it comes to generation of content, and people who use artificial intelligence to generate content, and especially when it comes to art and creativity,
Yeah.
AI is not able to really get the African context. But we have found it being skewed, because when it comes to the African context, it also gives very stereotypical results based on what outside Africa talk about Africa.
Okay.
And that is how AI is going to generate. There was even a time someone had prompted AI to generate a poor white man being fed by a rich black man, and it couldn't.
Wow.
Yes, but it was very easy to generate a poor black man being fed by a rich white man.
Or vice versa, it couldn't
Yes.
generate a
Yes,
black
but
man feeding a
no,
poor
no, no,
white
no,
man,
no,
but
no, no,
it
no.
could
Ah,
be
no.
vice versa.
Africans must be assisted. They are very
Oh,
poor. They must be
no.
helped.
That is truly, you know, misguided, yeah.
Yes. So for it, I would say it's in terms of, it's also very selective in terms of how it generates content. But I think with time, because it's an evolving technology, they're
We'll
going to
get
be
them.
adjusting
And
that.
especially if now the African developers
Yes.
are able now to create
Yes, yes.
our own open AIs
Of
for
course, of course,
ourselves.
yeah.
Right. And now what is the responsibility? Who are first to be held responsible for, you know, the disinformation of information, and what do they need to do? I know media outlets for one, for sure, because we are the ones who convey a lot of information on TV, on print. You know, who else is also responsible in ensuring that people get a right information?
With the emergence of social media, I think we have also even been talking, even as an organization, when we are talking to young people, we've actually been talking about individual responsibility, because social media is so powerful.
It is.
And one thing I came to realize with social media is that if you do not yourself take part in ensuring that you also be an ambassador of spreading correct information, it becomes very, 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 very irresponsible of you. Because however much truthful information is communicated and it comes on social media, if you don't become an ambassador of spreading that, then you are doing the social media, the other users, as a lot of injustice. And again, if you also become a spreader of biased information, because when we talk about selective dissemination, is biased.
It's biased.
Yes, spreading biased information. Then again, you're also doing injustice by making people make decisions out of incomplete information. So there is the bit of our viewers and the young people generally to also know that they should be part of this entire whole phenomenon. Yes. So, but I think for media, we are really also looking forward to ensure that we also have the media playing the role of watchdog. You know, because we used to talk about the media as a watchdog, and being a watchdog is when the media is able to inform the public on what is in their interest and also what is of interest to the public.
Okay.
Yes, because there are two issues. There is what is in the interest of the public, and then there is public interest. So what is in the interest of the public,
Tell us about
what is in the interest of the public is what the public itself, the concerns, the issues that affect them, and they would want even authorities or people they hold accountable to know. The media should be able to help and midwife that kind of information to reach the relevant. And then there is that which we call of public interest, is what the public might not be knowing, but the media can help to unearth and inform the public. And this was happening, just to give an example, I think it was during the Goldenberg scandal or something. And the media communicated, the public didn't know
About
the kind of looting that had happened in this country. And they were telling the public that, you know what, we've lost this much, these billions, we have lost this amount of money. But the public could not actually even figure out what are billions. I mean, what's a billion? I mean, how big is a billion? I mean, how much is a billion? And then media realized that there is still no public outcry. The public doesn't even seem to be
understand the
rattled.
gravity of the
Yes, they don't
situation.
still understand the gravity of the situation. And then there was one time, one media house said, you know what, the money that has been stolen, if it is broken down into 1,000 notes and arranged on the road, it can come all the way from Nakuru to Nairobi. And the public said, no way, no way, no way, you cannot steal all that money. You cannot steal
Now
that
it was
money.
relatable.
Yes,
to
no, it
them.
was relatable.
Yeah.
So, so that role of a watchdog, if the media plays it very well without intimidation, I know there are different dynamics even in any country globally, even when it comes to issues around media ownership
Freedom.
and issues around media concentration, where we have a few political elites or a few elites controlling the media industry, and that also affects the role of a watchdog. But we expect the media to really execute that role so diligently, because that one is going to really impact on the kind of information that is in the public, and ensuring that information that goes to the public is complete.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that is quite profound, and that's why the media would still be important, even in the era of, even in the digital transformation, even in the social media era.
Yes,
The media
yes,
is still has a big role to play, right?
Because you know the media is regulated, unlike the
social
unregulated social media.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
media is regulated. We are holding them accountable. These are professionals. They are guided by ethics, and therefore it is more trustworthy. Yes.
Okay. So just in summary of all that we have talked about, right?
Yeah.
You have said that it is wrong to share selective information. We should have the full information, right?
Yeah.
But if someone wants to share selective information, it should be something that will not affect the public. It's still okay to share selected information, but as long as it will not affect the public, right?
Right, and especially when sharing, of course, even in organizations, people sign non-disclosure agreements. Yeah. In government, also again, there are people also sign some other documents, because they are classified documents, they are classified information, and that is allowed, because again, you cannot release all information if at all it's going to impact on national security, or the security of the society or the community. So, but when it's information that it's really going to impact on the decision making of the public and all that, it should be out there. It should be out there. So, as we said, selective dissemination of information is not entirely wrong. it depends with the intent. It relies on the intent.
And the intent is what matters. Because,
Yes, yes.
You know, even in our social media platforms, we only share our information that we want to be known.
Yeah.
I won't share if I'm suffering. I will only share if I'm, you know, when I was at 5-star hotel, and I want you to know that. So
Yes.
there's that.
But you're doing good, very well.
Yeah, there's that aspect, but the intent is what really matters.
It's what really matters.
What is the future of this? What trends do you see in the future, even as we're getting more and more into technology? What do you foresee?
And it's good for me to address the young people, the youth, because I know they are the greatest viewership. They form the greatest viewership in Y254.
Yes.
But sometimes it's very difficult to predict some of these technological changes and advancements, and especially when it comes to the digital space. But I think any social media user or digital media user needs to brace themselves, because what we have is a flood of information out there. They need to brace themselves, especially with fact-checking skills. They need to make themselves literate when it comes to media. And that is going to really do them a lot of justice, because if they are not careful, they are going to fall prey to propagandists, to disinformation and misinformation machines that generate this kind of information, and it's going to be very detrimental even to society. They need to brace themselves with the right skills so that they can be able to navigate through this space
Especially
very
as we
well.
move towards
Yes.
the election 2027.
Absolutely.
What are these fact-checking skills?
There isn't any cast in stone way to fact check or to verify information. It depends with the form. There are information, for instance, yesterday I was engaging some, I don't know whether we have time, maybe a minute.
Yeah.
Yesterday I was engaging some group somewhere, a team that is being mentored by Creco, on an AI-generated image that had been used by one very big company to advertise. And I know perhaps you've also come across that kind of graphic. And many people could not identify what was wrong with that kind of image or graphic. People were just looking at it and they were talking about the kind of information written there. But the point was about the use of AI or the use of technology in that image. And many of them could not. And these are the cream de la cream that we have amongst the young people, all right? But they couldn't identify. So if it is AI-generated content, how do you identify this is AI-generated and not real? Because we even have videos, some of them to taint the image of politicians and even the general public. So when it comes, if it is images, if you want to know the actual source of this image, you can do Google image reverse check. When it comes to political kind of mis or disinformation, there are specific sites that you can check. When it's simply imposter content, where we have people using trusted news, trusted organizations, logos and colors, and to purport that it's coming from them while it's not coming from them. How do you verify that? You go to their socials and all that, go to their websites and the like. So it's very dynamic, and there are complexities to all this. So, but knowing this kind of information, how can I fact check text? How can I fact check images? How can I fact check videos? It's very important.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was almost getting into now going to the Google reversal, but that's a whole story for another day.
Definitely.
You know, with AI, there's a lot. But the point is to be very skeptical about everything that we receive, that we see. Make sure you verify it, and that's a key skill that is needed, especially in this era that you're in.
Yeah.
All right, Duncan. So as a way of closing, maybe you can let them have something from this conversation that you want them to stay with, and then share your social media platforms.
All right, maybe what I can say is that please, make it your personal responsibility. Be intentional in looking for the full information and knowing all the sides of a story. Because if you do not do that, you're going to get a skewed perception or perspective about a specific a person, a specific institution, or any other thing that information is talking about. So be very intentional about finding full information about someone, something, and the like. And then finally, Steph, again, let them also seek courses, seek information, let them build their capacity in identifying misinformation, disinformation, and fake news. And all this kind of information we also provide on our socials, on X at Creco Kenya, on YouTube at Creco KE, on Instagram and TikTok at Creco Kenya, on Facebook at Creco-KE, Creco-Kenya. And also they can find us on LinkedIn at the Constitution and Reform Education Consortium. They can also find me at Duncan_Maigua on X.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Duncan.
Asante.
We always appreciate your time
Thank
and you sharing a lot of information, much wisdom on this particular area that is very critical in this age and time. I hope you've taken something from this conversation. Be woke, yeah? Stay woke.
Wise up.
Do not believe everything that you see. Do not share everything that you receive. It is your responsibility to confirm. Yeah, so we're going to put a stop on this conversation, but Brian Sakwa will be coming up next with yet another interesting, engaging conversation. So stick with us.